Author Satya Saran says, love is a powerful emotion. It is positive and it fills the heart and body with a feeling of well-being and also of being able to conquer the world. Being newly married, I really get this statement, that it's that juicy, warm, fuzzy kind of feeling. That's what love is. And in the book, Return to Love, Marianne Williamson says, love is what we're born with. Fear is what we learn. And a spiritual journey is the unlearning of fear and prejudices and the acceptance of love back into our hearts. Love is essentially the reality and the purpose for us here on earth. So think about it for a minute. Love is what we're born with. Fear is what we learn. And think about a small child. They're fearless, like totally. They really are. And until they learn to take on, fears, because the parents are going, well, don't do that, you'll hurt yourself or whatever. It's like they're born open and clear and life shuts them down. So Marianne Williamson also says, love can end hate and it can change someone's hateful ways. But then also on the other hand, hate can be more powerful than love. Ooh, I don't like that. And hate, it kind of leads to craziness. And in so many cases, too many cases, it can lead to violence. There was a study published in the Frontiers of Psychology that used an experimental kind of paradigm to study the relationship in romantic love and hate. And being newly married, I just like reading stuff. So it was really interesting for me to read this. And in it, it showed that the results, it supported the idea that the deeper the love, the deeper the hate. And hate stems from fear. There's actually this thing out there called the fear, anger, hatred cycle. And as a naturopath, we say that anger stems from our expectations not being met. That's what happened. We have an expectation the way anything is meant to go. The expectation's not met, we get frustrated. From frustration, that goes to anger. Let that sit there and soak in and seethe for long enough, and it becomes hate. So we can have expectations in life. The reality is, but our expectations are our expectations. We can never control everything else or anyone else in life. We just can't. It's not possible. And so sometimes we'll get triggered, or, we'll just we go down that rabbit hole. We flip our lid, as my partner, Alice, says. It's like expectations not met. We get frustrated. It can roll to anger. And if we hold that long enough, it runs to hate. But what sits behind it all is fear, our fear of being out of control, that whatever we expected to happen didn't happen. Now, we're never in control of anything and everything. It's not possible. We're not. We want to be able to break this hate, anger cycle, because it ruins lives. It's just not cool. And so many people can be, and I've done it in the past too, can be stuck in something, and for something that happened a lifetime ago, and we're hanging on to it. So we know that love, it feels positive and uplifting and warm and fuzzy and happy and joyful and lovely. And hate feels hard and cold and negative. Hate feeds on fear. And as I mentioned a minute ago, it comes from our expectations not being met. Now, we learned hatred from so many places in life. We learned it from social groups and family and community and just other people we've interacted with and environment. And it still comes from us taking on someone else's expectation that's not been met. Oh my God. My mentor, David T.S. Wood, he says hating someone is like you drinking poison and expecting them to die. You drinking poison and expecting them to die. I've also heard that it's like when we're challenged, our expectation is not met. It's like someone throws a knife at our feet. We choose to pick that knife up and stab ourselves. Now, when I learned both of those kind of analogies from David more than a decade ago, and the other one from earlier than that, it made me really look and think, wow, where am I still drinking poison? Something that's happened a long time ago and is not working for me. Why am I keeping myself trapped in there? Now, I get it. I'm not saying we condone anything that's happened or, that we've seen as wrong and all that kind of stuff. But us getting sick out of it, it doesn't help the cause. It just doesn't. So I think it's great to do a bit of a mental check-in and see what's going on. So what I know for sure is that it's not worth drinking the poison. Nothing is worth drinking the poison and expecting the other person to get sick. It's not going to happen. So how do we move from that fear and hate to love so that we can heal? Marianne Williamson says that the world as we perceive it is dominated by a thought system based on fear. And I really agree. And you think of all the negativity that's thrown at us through media and everything, you know, the majority of the time. So darkness, remember that cold, dark, hard kind of energy is merely an absence of light. And when you turn on the light, the darkness disappears. I did a workshop with David, 10 years ago, and it was the most visual feeling, if you can have a visual feeling, I've ever experienced. We did this process kind of work where I was in a room with hundreds of people. We all had a candle, and we, you know, like the Dalai Lama, it's about like your flame doesn't go out by lighting someone else's light. And so we'd all lit each other's candles. It started with one, it flowed through the room. It's like, oh, happy, happy, joy, joy, love, love, wonderful. And then we blew the candles out all as one. And I remember it going from this warm, just joy-filled room to cold, black, hard energy in an instant. And that's more than 10 years ago now. And I felt that visual, and I went, oh, I don't want the darkness. I don't want that darkness in my life. And so I really mindfully live that way to do things, to not drink the poison, because I don't want that darkness in my life. The way we get rid of the darkness is to bring light, and not just bring light to us, but bring light to others. So forgiveness is actually the ultimate way to overcome our fears. That's it. So the darkness, okay, it's an absence of light. And when we turn on the light, darkness is gone. But we've got to forgive wherever it is in the past it's been, to be able to come forward through that fear and bring in the light. I believe that the world would be a better place if we can come from love, not fear. If we can cast out the fear that leads to hate and anger. Holy shit, we live in a totally different world. So I choose the path of not drinking the poison. So here are a few practices that I do that help me to live from love, not fear and hate. So the first one is that my wife Alice and I, we start the day with a verse. And it's the very first thing that we do when we wake up, and it helps us start the day with love. And it's a passage or a verse by Thich Nhat Hanh, the king of mindfulness. So the words go like this: waking up, I smile. 24 brand new hours lie before me, and I vow to be present to every moment and look with eyes of compassion upon all beings. Guys, when we look upon compassion upon all beings with compassion, you can't hate, but it's got to start somewhere. It's a mindful, conscious thought to come from a place that we come from compassion. Now, this leads into step 2, and I really recommend, if you have not read the book, The 4 Agreements, get the book, because the book made a huge difference. And I'm going to explain, I'll kind of highlight what the 4 agreements are. So when David Wood actually showed me this book more than 10 years ago, whoa, this book does it. So one of the 4 agreements is that we get that everyone's doing our best. So we're doing our best and everyone else is doing our best. So when we're doing our best, we get that, you know, if we're tired or sick or overwhelmed or whatever, different circumstances means our best won't be as strong, so to speak, as it can be at other times. And I get that I really get it. I promise I run the 4 agreements over my brain on a daily basis. When something happens, people are coming from the place which at that time is their best. We mightn't agree that it's the best of the best, but for them at that time, they're doing it their best. Another one of the 4 agreements is to be impeccable with our words. So this is about being your word, say what you mean, always speak with integrity, but also things like don't go gossiping about others. Don't be hard on yourself. Like, just take your word in the direction of kind of like truth and love and all good things, and take that other people are coming that way as well back to you. Take people for their word. Don't create stories, which is the next one. The next one is about don't make assumptions. So this is where you know, have the courage to say what you want in life, and at the same time, when anyone else is communicating with you, stick to the facts. Take them for their word, get that they're coming from the best place, and don't make stories and dramas and things up about what's said. Just take it for what it is. So, so it might be that, I don't know, someone might, it can feel like a criticism from someone else for something. It might be like, I don't know, gosh, what's a criticism? I can't even think of one. I try not to play that game. But someone just, you feel like you're being judged or something. And it's like, it's the same thing. It's like you getting cranky about it is like drinking the poison, expecting them to go, ooh, get sick out of it. It's like, no, this is just, I say to myself, no story. Like, I just don't create stories about things. Oh, that's okay. Well, let's use this one. My teacher, Dave Wood, he teaches me like this. It's kind of like you have a car accident. It's like, oh, I nearly died. Well, you didn't nearly die. You just had a car accident. The nearly died is the story that you create that keeps you trapped in it. So that's a really big one. It's called make no assumptions, but I call it like, don't make any stories up in your head about what's actually happening. Just stick to the facts. And then the other one is don't take anything personally, the other 4 agreements. And this is nothing that anyone or anything happens into life. It's actually not anything to do with you. It really doesn't. It's so easy to buy into this game that we think we can project what we want and what we do onto other people, and the same with them back. And it's just kind of like we can keep ourselves trapped into this thinking like everything revolves around us in a negative way. And it's like, if someone just goes, if I say, hey, do you want a cup of coffee? And they say no, I go, okay, cool. Where sometimes people say, do you want a cup of coffee? And they'll go, no. And they go, oh, shit, like what? You won't let me help you? Like, and it's like, fuck, what a waste of energy. It's crazy. So the 4 Agreements was a book that has changed my life in such a big way, in all really good ways. And I'd be lucky to find a day that doesn't happen where my brain, I've done it so much now, my brain defaults to running the 4 Agreements over anything that happens if I'm triggered or that, because then I can just go, okay, cool, that's all it is, move on. And that's really helped me heaps. With that, David also, he's taught me about practicing radical forgiveness. And this book helped me so much. The biggest part of this book that helped me with radical forgiveness is the fact that everyone's doing their best. They really are. And it can be a big stretch. I get it. I've had plenty of life that's happened to me in the past where I could go down the rabbit hole in so many bad ways. It's not going to hurt. It's not going to help me. I made peace with so much stuff in my life years ago from my childhood and that, and I did it for my own health. So these are just some ways it's worth thinking about, because while we stay in that hate, while we stay in that dark, it's us who ends up damaged out of it. I've just recently finished the book, which I loved, called Into the Magic Shop he's a neurosurgeon, Dr. James Daly. Really worth a listen or a read of this book. It's such a cool book. So he is a neurosurgeon, and the opening passage of this book is one of the coolest openings I've heard in any book, because he goes into the sounds that he hears when he's doing neurosurgery. But the book is about kind of like manifesting on what you want in life and how that's impacted him by meeting a woman when he was 12 years old, and she taught him how to come out of a life of poverty and create the life that he wanted. And I'm not going to give away the book, but he talks about the alphabet of the heart. The missing piece that people get is to come from that place of the heart. And I just want to touch on these. I really recommend you search out this book. It is such a good book. But the alphabet of the heart, he's a neurosurgeon, so he's used to using phonics, however you say the word, to remember stuff when you're doing surgery and things. Phonetics, no. Anyway, phonics, I can't even say the word. But anyway, the alphabet of the heart, you can just search it, go to the show notes and you'll see it. But this is like, wow, this is a way to bring more of that light and cast out the darkness out of our lives. And I think it's just such a cool way of being. So it starts with C and goes to L. Think about the alphabet. It's an easy way to remember what they are. So C is for compassion. So it's about opening your heart for yourself and for other people. D is for dignity, recognizing the dignity in every human being. And I'd throw in there, recognize that everyone's doing their best. E is for equanimity. And I had to really think about this word because it's not a word I'm really familiar with, but it's about acknowledging the ups and downs in life and finding that's just kind of that space of balance, not the high highs, not the low lows, just kind of that space. F is forgiveness. So seeking forgiveness from those you have failed and those who have failed you. Like I said, I like to practice radical forgiveness. If you keep waiting for the other person to go first, you're bloody dreaming. That shit's not going to happen. Be the person who goes first. Forgive first. G is for gratitude. So this is about just, coming from gratitudes. And what I know is if, starting and ending a day with gratitudes, and just if something's not going the way you want, coming from a place of gratitude is the easiest way to get a breakthrough. So be grateful for the little things. H is for humility. And, no one's better than you. We're not better than anyone else. Everyone's just doing life to the best that they can. Give yourself and others a break. I is for integrity. Value honesty and integrity. Integrity is, that me being my word, and that's such high values for me. So come from a place of integrity, whatever is your integrity. J for justice. Acknowledge your obligations and context of social justice. So take a stand for things that you believe in and take a stand for yourself. K is for kindness. Be kind to yourself and to others. That doesn't even need any explanation. And L is for love. Let your heart be open to live from within yourself and with others, like really seriously. Like Marianne Williamson says, there's only love or fear. Fear can lead to hate and a life of pain and struggle. I choose to mindfully live towards love. And I'm not I'm still not a perfect person, I promise. I'm a great work in progress. However, this is one of the things in life that I really have found beneficial for me, being able to live a life that works for me better than not. Being trapped where I was in my younger years, that's not cool. So healthy life hacks for this episode are: 1, think of somewhere in your life where you're still drinking the bloody poison. Healthy life hack number 2 is stop drinking the poison. Whether you've got to go and get therapy, get help, read books, do what you need to do, but stop drinking the poison and let the light back into your heart. There is only love or fear. Choose love. If you want to check out the show notes, head to www.healthylifehacks.com.au, and in there I'll have a link to the Into the Magic Shop book and also the 4 Agreements book. I really encourage you to check them out because they've been absolutely life-changing for me.